The following Conscious Consumer Network recording of a live broadcast is available to purchase in high definition at ethymarket.com. Support free and independent media by becoming a CCN pledger. For €10 a month, you can have unlimited access to CCN high definition downloads at ethymarket.com. Ethymarket, the ethical marketplace for conscious consumers.
Humanity revolution. We are beginning to remember our organic
The
technology.
reason it's not is because people are kept distracted by the illusions and deceit propagated
Technology,
by
when used correctly, can create an experience that the majority of the people
In
the
recent
world over
years,
want
the
to live.
rise in truly informed, savvy researchers and journalists who have all taken to the air in various capacities has given rise to a new genre
Time to
of
use this technology consciously for
We
our
have seen
own
the
benefit and
explosion
healing,
of truly
and no
free
longer
and independent
unconsciously
media.
for our own
Thus,
demise.
the need to create an ethical live broadcast network that facilitated these brave and tireless souls
We are multi-dimensional creators, creating
With a
both
great
our own
amount of
personal
research and
experience
meticulous
and
planning,
our collective
Conscious
experience
Consumer
moment to
Network was
moment.
created. CCN is the first of its kind broadcast network that is specifically dedicated to
We
free
invite you to join us as we reawaken this technology through experiment and experience our power to create and manifest.
The live broadcast network runs full time with an average of 25 shows and live broadcasts a week. The high definition live stream
Hello
is
and welcome
free to view
everyone to
and is
the
accessible from
Collective
any
Imagination
computer
Show,
terminal
Lisa
with
and
online
Barbara.
access,
Hi, Barbara.
including laptops, tablets, smartphones.
Good to have you
and
back.
smart
We were all
TVs.
worried about you last week.
All shows are archived
So
onto
glad it was all good.
YouTube and
Just
are
a
freely
technical issue.
available to view. In
Yeah,
order
just
to
a
educate and
technical
inform
issue.
as many as we can without imposing monetary limitations.
So I know you got messages saying, Barbara, where are you? We missed you. Come back.
CCN was
It was very
successfully
sweet.
launched
Thank you,
on the 1st
guys.
of January 2015.
And hi to everybody in the
I
chat.
didn't-
Has gone from strength to strength.
Oh, sorry.
as we have improved
We
and
are
increased
having
the
a couple of
capacities
technical
and
issues, and I know they're
functionalities
all
of
at
the
my end.
network, as
So
well
hopefully
as
we won't
ever
talk over
rotating
each
and
other.
improving lineup of content which is
about that.
broadcast daily.
So hi to everybody in the chat room.
Home of some of the hardest hitting,
We've had a
most
couple of,
cutting edge, truly educational,
sort of
and
interesting
informative materials.
discussions on
Catch
and off
interviews,
air
reviews, and
over the
talk
last
shows
week or so
from the many different
about
beautiful perspectives
healing,
of CCN's family of
self-healing,
interviewers and
healing practitioners,
broadcasters.
healing modalities,
Since the 1st of January 2015, we've
chakras,
produced over 800 shows. With over 2 million
Kundalini,
YouTube
all this sort of
minutes
stuff,
watched every
and
month.
it's flowed
And we
in and
have
out
an
of
average
both
of 1 million hits
this
a day
show
on
and the
CCN's
roundtable.
website. CCN
As
is
well
viewed
as
in over 147
a lot of you guys sharing some
countries
amazing
and
stuff
hosts
with
broadcasters
me
from 5 different
personally
continents.
through Facebook or emails or
The time has now
even
come to
YouTube.
generate funding to keep
And
CCN on the air for the duration of 2016.
wildly differing
The total
perspectives.
sum needed to continue
All of this.
broadcasting for 2016
There's
is
no grey area here. I mean,
$60,000.
there is in the sense of people.
This
there
budget
are
includes the
segment
replacement
of
of
people who
computer
are just
equipment, the acquisition
not
of
sure
secure
either way,
servers, which are most needed
but
as we keep getting hacked, plus
those
the renewal
who
of
the
the broadcast
conversation that we
license
had
fee for
yesterday went
2016.
into the colours.
This is a
things within
fraction of the
chakras.
annual budget used by
As well,
mainstream media
as
networks producing
the
a similar quantity of
purpose of
content.
chakras.
This
or
is what
the
makes CCN so successful, unique, and accessible.
organic nature
Is the
of
ability to
chakras.
run a project of this size and
And
reach on such
I'm
minimal resources.
really blown away by
CCN does
the
not claim
extremes of the
ownership
opposing
over
views on
any of the
this.
material we produce and broadcast, as we firmly
and if I
believe
can
that
find,
information is the common
I'm scared
heritage of
because
all
I'm going
beings.
to actually try and
And
bring
thus,
anything up. Show
CCN
you
belongs to
first.
you, the public, and it is up to you all to keep
Messages I've
CCN
received.
going.
And
CCN would like
again,
to
well,
thank
I've
those
got
who have
more
contributed
people
to
who
the
will say,
network in the
yes,
past
I've
with
done it.
resources,
And
content,
I've never-
information, time, and energy.
and
We
the
thank you for
confirms such a
supporting
thing.
free and independent media.
Even if this can be classed as confidential,
Lifelong friendships.
is by having someone who sees the chakras
Cultural awareness.
confirm for you that they're there, and then confirm for you that they're not, that they can't see them anymore. It's one of those
Life-changing
that in itself
experiences.
is a pretty grey area, I guess. But I'm kind of fascinated by the whole conversation that's happening around it all, and
Yeah, me too.
the idea that I love the idea that we're questioning everything, even things that we, have held sacred. I think that's the only way to move forward for me, anyway. And you and I haven't really had the chance to have the conversation because I did it on my own last week, and mostly with Dee, otherwise on air. So this is my chance to ask you what your experience is. Have you ever done any kind of healing modality that works with the chakras, or healing modalities of any kind, any energetic kind? And what your personal experiences are, where you might be leaning towards on all this?
I have no experience with chakras personally whatsoever, but I do find the topic extremely fascinating. What I thought was interesting about, and I did listen to last week's show, what I thought was interesting about some of the things that have been brought up was the fact that the programming could be instituted or instilled in us through that system. And the reason I thought that was fascinating was because when we talk about programming, we talk about external, inward, like we're watching TV and they're hitting us with TV, or it's outside in this 3D realm being absorbed by us, or they're giving us pills, or they're trying to do implants. But it sounds more realistic that if we're trying to deal with them on a energetic level through our collective pooling of energy and our imagination to, make change, well then why wouldn't they be doing the same thing and utilizing the energetic flow within us through means that we wouldn't see as traditional? And so that's what I thought was interesting about that is it makes perfect sense. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but it makes sense because they're just way too clever and way too much more advanced not to utilize something like that, since we're already looking to use something like that to deal with them, them being the powers that be and whatever. But with respect to healing, I am completely on board with and have my own personal experiences with just feeling like you're healthy and knowing that you are. Just you accept it as it is, as something that is, and therefore it is. And I have a cat named Miles who he transitioned early in June. And I don't want to go into the woo of it because when he actually transitioned, I was sitting in the pool and I knew it because of the way that everything in the sky started moving. It was really weird. And I found out the next day that was the exact time that he died. But anyway, he was 18 years old. He was up there. So he would have, like, his back conscious would get really stiff, especially in the wintertime. So I tried some things that actually not only worked, but he started seeking me out. And what he would do is he would lay next to me and I would just use my hands, and because I didn't know how to do it, I've just seen people try to do it. And what I did was I tried to send energy, positive energy, healing energy, saying, you are well, anything here is good. And I could actually feel as I was putting my hands, I wouldn't touch him. I would just put my hands really close. Just like when you put your two hands together, you can feel the energy between them. I was doing that around those areas and holding it sometimes for minutes, just holding it in spots that I thought he seemed to show that he had pain for. Not that I could sense anything, but just my visual interpretation. And I could feel like popping, and he's not moving, he's just laying there next to me. And I would feel like popping and I don't know, just it felt like you could feel like things moving in there. And after I did it the first couple of times, the first time he was like, "Ooh, that's weird, get away from me," but then he'd come and actually lay down next to me and he'd like look at me like, "Okay, can you just give me a little of that stuff?" So although you can't ask a cat if they're actually experiencing anything from it, I felt as if he was, because he was responding by requesting more. So when I got here, this cat also is older and has some stiffness and such. And it was sick actually before I got here, and I guess lost almost all of its weight. It's healthier now. But so I tried the same thing, and not only does this cat also come and lay next to me, this cat doesn't lay next to anybody. It doesn't want to be anywhere near people except to be patted. So the fact that it was seeking me out, and I could feel when it would lay next to me, it's almost like it was looking for just to be close to me. Like being close to me, it was getting some, obviously heat, which is just like a heating pad. So that's nothing special. But I got the same general kind of response from this cat, and this cat seeks me out too sometimes. And afterwards, it gets up, and I can see that it's walking with more ease. So that's the limit of my experience with what I would call any kind of healing modalities. But I know that it works, and I also genuinely believe that people who get serious illnesses get them because their body is responding to something that's going on within them. I'll give you one example, and I don't mean to disrespect anyone who either has a disease or an issue or knows someone who does, because so many are adamant that, well, yeah, but I'm a good person. Why would I get this? But my nieces, I'll call her mother-in-law because she never married the guy that she lives with, and they have a couple kids, but they might as well be. Her partner, her whatever the right word is for that, his mother, she's been dying of leukemia which went into bone cancer. It was blood cancer, now it's bone cancer, for a few years, and it's been getting worse and worse and worse, and she's trying everything. So I thought when she was probably last spring, she was getting worse. And so I thought, well, I might as well just send alternative ideas. I mean, my niece can ignore them or not. But this woman is, as long as I've known of her, which has probably been 5-6 years, it's probably 2009, so I guess 6 years, she is constantly agitated. Everything agitates her. And she doesn't want to be agitated, but she is agitated. And even if she's having a good day, she gets agitated. And she takes it out on the people around her by just having that voice, But she's a nice enough lady, I guess. I mean, I don't really know her, but that is who she is. That is the way that she responds to the world, by agitation. So if she's expressing that, just imagine whatever she's pent up, it's her whole body, because she's mad at everything all the time. She thinks everything is unfair and people are wrong. And, so it took her whole body. It was leukemia is a blood disease, so it's everywhere. Bone cancer is everywhere. So it was a disease that took over everything because she's unhappy and not the most content person with everything, So, I don't know. Obviously, you can only help people if they're willing to listen and try some things. But I do believe that whatever you get because it's whatever you've asked for. Like if you're in a car accident, for example, that's something, I still think that is part of your dynamic to get you from point A to B, or you've asked for it in some way and didn't realize, or you're bitching about everything. And so, that anger came back to you in the form of a car. But the same with disease. I really feel that people, whatever it is that they have, they can heal it because you've seen people healed. Talk to Daniel Brinkley. He'll tell you.
So many people I've known over the years. But one case in particular comes to mind, and it was a guy here in Australia who actually had a very successful holistic healing business. He had an online business as well as a warehouse that he sold from, and you name it, in terms of natural, alternative, and healing products, modalities, everything. He was on top of all of it. He got throat cancer. Now, prior to this sort of life that he was living, he practiced yoga. He was a vegan. He had a lot of raw food. I mean, he ticked every box, right? But previous to that, he used to be a pastor. And he ended up having an affair with another pastor's wife. And then those two ran off together. And he had a lot of guilt around what he'd done with all of that. And his parents didn't speak to him again, I think. I think that was the trigger. This man did absolutely everything, including the black salve. You know, he had this thing eating away at his throat. I mean, he did everything except talk to his parents. I mean, we're talking about throat cancer here. We're talking about a communication issue, you know, all of that. And it was the one thing he could not do was try and communicate with his parents. He just would not go there. He would look at everything else but that. And it was obvious to everybody around him what was eating at him, literally. But he just couldn't go there. And he ended up transitioning. And he did everything. He did all the right things physically. All of it. The other story you reminded me of was my aunt, who, oh my God, was one of the most evil, bitter, and twisted women you have ever had the pleasure of meeting. And she eventually went with cancer that ate up her entire body. You know, she was literally eaten up with bitterness. And this thing took her kidneys. She used to have to go and have dialysis every couple of days. It worked, and she wouldn't die. Like we were amazed that she could literally be, you know, minus so many organs, because she was always having bits taken out, and still be functioning. But she could not let go, and she was bitter to the very end. And I think it was the bitterness that even kept her going as long as she did. That was her driving force. And then you do, like you say, you look at people who are gorgeous people, absolutely beautiful people, but they've got something chronically ill with them, or they're dying of some disease, and you look at that, but even then you can still usually see that they've got a pain. They've got an internal pain or trauma that hasn't healed, and that's what's eating them up. It's got nothing to do with them necessarily being a bad person, like my aunt,
right.
But it's that something that they've internalized, some trauma, some pain that they've internalized, and they just don't know how to clear that. And sometimes our bodies have to get to the point where they're screaming at us for us to even contemplate trying to heal that pain. We get lots of clues along the way before it gets to that point, I believe. But it's sad when you see somebody in that situation, because sometimes the trauma is just too great to even go to try and heal. Mm-hmm. But okay, it was a little bit of a sidetrack. Yeah, I've done lots of different healing modalities over the years. And I know they work. I know energetic healing works. I've used it on myself with miraculous results. I've used it on others. And I do think that all we're doing is supporting a person in healing themselves. I don't think we actually can take the credit for healing each other. I think we can take the credit for supporting each other in healing ourselves. But ultimately, it's got to come from within, from you. That's my thought.
Well, let me throw this at you. Our physical body is made up of numerous consciousnesses at the cellular level, at individual organs and everything. I believe that our heart, for example, has its own consciousness. And then we embody this with our own consciousness, but the body itself is made up of many. So I also feel like, let's say that somebody's driving around doing chemtrails. well, we can see them and they're affecting us just in the same way that whatever we eat or whatever emotions we're feeling, we're impacting those other consciousnesses, those other parts of ourselves. I can just see them going, stop it, put that cake down. You know, we don't want any more cake down here, because to them it's like chemtrails. You give me some carrots or whatever. You know, just as an example. So I really think that when there's energy being exchanged, it also is being exchanged with the various other consciousnesses, the various other energetic entities, existences that make up the physical body that we are in. So when for example, was doing that thing with my cat Miles, I just think that the energy of this was interacting with the energy of that. It had nothing to do with Miles or Barbara. It had to do with those two energies communicating, which they each have their own consciousness, I believe.
Was it Louis Pasteur who discovered germs? And I think it was Pasteur.
I don't know.
And he said on his deathbed, pretty much, that it's not the seed, it's the soil. So the germ itself, it's kind of irrelevant. It's all about the environment in which it's in, which is why you could have these doctors in the midst of plague environments dealing with the sick and the dying and the contagious, and they never caught anything. They were fine. During the Black Plague, entire families would go, except one person, you know, in a household surrounded by people who were dying.
Yeah, and so they're exposed to all of those germs.
Yeah, and I know it's not the seed, it is the soil. I know it's the environment, and the environment is our internal energetic consciousness, the consciousness of every cell. I mean, people who, and this drives me nuts, you know, those women with young babies who, you know, they disinfect everything. You know, the dummy's been boiled and the bottles are boiled and the Detol's everywhere and the antibacterial washes you know, and their kids are friggin' pristine, you know. And mind you, they're the first ones that when you're out in public and the kid drops the dummy, they just pick it up off the ground and suck it and give it back. You know, I mean, everything's Detol with life at home. And, you know, the kids are always sick. These are the kids who are always sick. And it's not even on one level, yeah, it's because they're not exposed on a physical level to anything. But to me, it's also because the mothers are so focused on friggin' germs and sickness that they're creating that environment.
They're attracting it. Yeah, they're attracting
it. Oh, I used to know some women like they used to drive me nuts. I deliberately take all my kids' clothes off and tell them to go and jump in the mud in front of mothers like that. I make my pies or something. And the women would be horrified. So yeah, go have fun. Oh God. Okay, so where does that leave us with all of this the bigger conversation though of what may, because for me it's about what is it about us that holds us in this matrix, you know, holds this reality in place. And I was trying to sort of have the conversation with Dee yesterday on the show that, like, her experience of the world, and you know, I was talking about your experience of the world are completely different. And it's because of what you guys are focused on and what you allow into your reality. And, you know, and Dee has to be focused on all the world events and all the, you know, the news and the shit that's going on in order to put those shows together that she does. And you walk around in a magical world of butterflies and synchronicities. And
I know.
I love it. You know, I'm somewhere in the middle. But so your day-to-day lives, your day-to-day experiences, even though you live on the same planet, flat, round or otherwise, it's completely different. You feel like you're on a magical carpet ride every day.
And I feel the same myself.
And I love your perspective, and it shows up in your photograph, shows up in your little screenshots of synchronicities, and you know, it's magical. And
well, I don't.
You're almost
on a
not
show
living
that,
in the same world.
but I didn't. I haven't always been like this. And on one of the, I think it was the second show when we came back to do this together, and I was doing it myself. What I did was I just thought I would tell people a little history about me, including how I met you and stuff like that. And I mean, most people don't know, and this sounds like I'm talking about it just really like as if it's nothing, but it's the past. It has nothing to do with who I am. But I mean, my father was murdered. I had a guy break into my house and he raped me. I left to move to New York shortly after that because of that. And that guy, when he got out, the next woman, because of his experience with me, he killed her. I've had a series of not so nice boyfriends. Many of them have stolen tons of money from me. A couple of them have beaten me up a few times, and then I got smart and left them after they did that. I love my son to death, and thank goodness he's a different man today. But probably from the time he was 4 until he was close to 20, I'll just say he was extremely challenging. And because I respect him and he's my son, I won't go into details, but I had a lot of issues. I worked for bosses that were horrible to me, horrible in the fact that, you know, they demanded everything from me, not caring how that impacted me. And then on the reverse of that, I would have babysitters who would be demanding so much from me that I couldn't give them because of the bosses, and on and on and on. I mean, I've been completely broke many times. One time I had no money. I had to sell my wedding ring just to get a couple $100 to make, because I'd already got another job, but I needed the money to make it the first few weeks until you get your paycheck and the subway tokens and stuff like that, and et cetera, et cetera. So, and I've also had hundreds of jobs that paid me 6 figures in the early 90s, and we're talking a lot of money. So I've had I've had an amazing up and down life, and I wouldn't trade it for anything, because all of that, the contrast and the good, put me where, I mean, I used to travel. I've been everywhere in this country simply by the jobs that I had. I've spent so much time in places like Houston and Washington, D.C., and Chicago and so forth, that I wouldn't trade for anything. But in doing that, I spent very little time with my son, but my job required that of me. So, the last 6 years or so since the magic switch got flipped on, and I recognized that I actually could control all of it, has changed everything. But I wasn't even your average person. I led a very up and down, bumpy life, as most people do. So I just am only throwing that out there so that people don't think, that I'm this hairy fairy person who's been in La La Land my whole life. La La Land only started about 6 years ago. And so it tells me that I am my own proof that I decide what happens in my world. Every teeny tiny little last thing. And what a thrill ride. Woo!
I think the magic, because I'm the same. I've had amazing highs and amazing lows. But if I was to try to encapsulate it, then it's about taking responsibility. It's it's completely empowering to understand that everything I experience, the good, the bad, the ugly, the blissful, the painful, the lot, I created in some way, shape, or form.
Absolutely.
And the victim part of you wants to go, oh, but that can't be true. I didn't, So if you can let go of your victim and get past that, it's empowering, because if it is out there, if it is external, if somebody else is doing it, somebody else created it, then you've got no control to change it. That's totally disapparent. So for me, it was, okay, my victim the victim part of me, and I think we've all got a little one buried in there somewhere at some point, didn't like that whole idea at first. So I had to resolve that, get rid of that bit and step into that. And that's when the magic started. That's when the magic happened. And the next step, and the most immediate, and it was immediate, was gratitude. Gratitude, there is so much magic in gratitude. And the moment, even when you're in that moment of something you do not want happening, and you can, as quickly as possible, step into a place of gratitude for it. And even if you don't understand yet why you're grateful for it, that comes, my experience, if I can go, okay, thank you for this moment, because I don't know it yet, but thank you for this moment. I know this is going to benefit me in some way. That opens the door to me to see the thing to be grateful for, even if I don't get it straight away. And things ultimately turn around, or an opportunity opens up for me to do something I hadn't thought of before. There's absolutely magic in gratitude, my experience.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me also say, let me just use the one example of the guy who broke into my house. At that time, I had just I'd moved back to Indianapolis from Chicago, and moved in with my then boyfriend, and had just recently kicked him out. I was in a job that I didn't like. I really felt, I was so unhappy. I would go for walks and just cry out saying, help me, help me, help me. Please help me. I'm miserable. Why am I living this life? How did I get here? How do I get out of this? I was a victim. Everything was happening to me. And when you look at that, and then that's the time this guy breaks into my house. It's not so much that I invited it, but I was allowing myself to live in that state and not having the tools, or not knowing I had the tools to do anything to change it. And all I had to do is just change my perspective and be grateful, or feel joy, or look for the happiness, go, wow, I'm so lucky I had this for lunch. Oh my God, did that taste great? Poof, you're out of it. I wallowed in that, and wallowing in it because I didn't know any better, and wallowing it just brought more of it. I can go back to every incident that ever happened and dissect it if I need to understand what purpose it had. And some things, they weren't so much that I attracted them. I'll give you another example. A friend of mine, before I realized that I was doing this prayer every Saturday, asking or saying, remove any obstacles in my way so that my divinity can shine through. That's one of the lines of it. Well, they were removing them, boop, 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 but in ways that didn't make sense to me. People were just disappearing out of my life. And I'm fighting to get them back. I'm fighting. I'm like, oh my God, what happened? How did that happen? What did I do? And then I realized that I'm asking for the obstacles to be removed. And when they're being removed, I'm not recognizing it as that. And so I'm trying to get it back because that feels normal. Once I realized that everything is in its perfect harmony, and it's just getting me from point A to point B, and that I want to get to point B, so let it go. I don't perceive it the same way. And it does, you don't fight to get it back. Because if you fight, now you're just fighting to get yourself right back into the hole you were in, that you were saying these things to get out of, and you're digging yourself back in. You're not even aware you're doing it. So you can go back and you can dissect and analyze all these different things that are happening. But once you recognize that you can, that you're the creator of your own reality, then all the rest of the stuff just kind of falls to the side, and you kind of feel happy all the time. Oop, I thought you froze there for a second.
No. I was listening to you and looking at the chat room. Nova, perfect. If you start to manifest, you also start to understand that there's nothing magical about it. It's our natural way of being. We must allow, be aware of it, and act on it. And Candy said that gratitude has completely transformed her life, along with self-responsibility. And Sheila was saying something that her victim was trying to reassert itself, but she can feel it backing off these days. Lisa and Barbara, do you ever have moments when you just want to walk away from all the crap that goes on in the world? Are you kidding me? Yeah, every day.
Yeah, I said something in the chat room yesterday. Some of you may know Carmel. She's a lot of things, but she does numbers. She's like a numerologist. I don't think she calls herself that. She calls herself a time translator. But she said something to me the other day that made perfect sense. So if you're looking at all of these tragedies that are going on and everyone's reaction to the tragedies, she said, listen, you go to a buffet and you see a little container of onions on there and you don't like onions. You acknowledge that they're there. You can see that they're there. And they'll still be there if you walk away from the buffet. But just because they're there doesn't mean you have to put them on your plate. So all these things are happening, and they will happen. And I acknowledge them, and I recognize them. I don't try to I don't watch TV very often at all. But if I don't try to avoid the situations and pretend they're not happening, I just listen. I kind of just let it go right through me. I hear it, I accept it, I'm aware, and then it's gone. Because it's still there, but I didn't put it on my plate. And I think that's really the only difference, because I don't feel like I want to just run away from anything, because it's still out there, and all the things we don't hear about. We heard about Paris, but Dee was nice enough to point out that there were multiple tragedies that same day where even more people were killed. We didn't hear about them, so they didn't make us unhappy or make us feel overwhelmed with, the tragedy of it all. But they still happened, so it didn't get on your plate because you didn't see it when it was on the buffet, but it's still there. So I don't feel like I have to ignore it for it not to bother me.
Yep. For me, I think I was trying to explain this a bit yesterday, but it's like having that moment of empathy. Then there's a part of me that knows that this is all just a game and a play and a simulation and a whatever, and no one ever really dies and blah, blah, blah. And being the observer of it and almost looking at it like a huge chess game. Okay, so what piece just got moved to where? What was that really all about? Someone knows the game plan here. Someone's got the big perspective on this chessboard and knows that you might be sacrificing a pawn in order to checkmate. Do you know what I mean? I don't know the bigger picture. And every time I still see that every time they pull one of these things off, the result is more people wake up.
Isn't it true?
How do we know that on some energetic, spiritual contract level that the people who who are dying things have on some level agreed to, in order, because they know that choice wakes up X number of people. And
I've thought the same thing. It's the same thing has crossed my mind.
Because if we aren't victims, if we are playing a part in this chess game unconsciously, that maybe there's a part of us that does have that bigger perspective and sees the whole board and knows the way the game is going to play out and knows who's going to get checkmate, then I have to honor everybody's role, the choices we all make, not I see. I really don't believe in accidents as such.
Mm-hmm.
So even though we talk about the powers that be, or were, or whatever, or that, you know, and like I was saying yesterday, sometimes it feels like we're in a war, and you know, it does. I get like that. I also have moments like this where I'm seeing it from up here, and I'm not affected by it. I'm honoring the movements of the pieces on the chessboard.
Yeah, and in honoring, it doesn't mean that you have no feeling. It just means that you're recognizing, you're perceiving it from a different vantage point. Because I think I've been told by people, well, then you're so cold. You know, you're so detached. How can you allow yourself to be like that when all this tragedy is happening? And you know, I mean, if we knew of all the tragedy, we would be overwhelmed and just be in bed all day with the covers over our head. And on the other perspective, if we knew all the joy, all the little joys that individuals had on a daily basis, we would be so exalted that we all these other tragedies wouldn't be able to bring us down. But we don't. We only see these little snips, you know. And it doesn't mean that you're cold. It just means that you're perceiving things on a different place.
Sorry, there's a helicopter going over. I don't know if you can hear it or not. Oh, I don't know how to explain.
Well, let me say something else. I have two friends from high school. Oh, okay, I'll just keep going. I have two friends from high school that I ended up having a conversation with, a written conversation with via Facebook about the Paris situation. One of them posted, and he's not a real political guy, and he doesn't like get in there and, you know, argue all the points. But he posted the speech by the Paris president, but didn't comment about it. And I just got this feeling, and I always go with my feelings because I know that they're, you know, I don't get those feelings unless I'm supposed to act on them. So I got this feeling that I should take a chance and write something. So I wrote a comment, and the comment basically said, I'm going out there on a limb, and don't you see that this is what you see? You know, we are ISIS. Everyone is saying, you know, go out and kill all these people, kill ISIS, kill. But who are you killing? You're killing a group of guys that we funded, we trained, you know, we're part of the pact of people who are giving them, making the decisions about what they do. You know, we're orchestrating this whole thing, we, the United States and other countries. So go after the right people if you really want to kill. But I think that you'll be surprised, or something like that. And then I got that role of like, I was being attacked. And so I wrote to my friend, I said, listen, I know you didn't ask for this. I don't usually write things like that, but I was compelled to. I'm happy to take it down. And he writes back and he tells me his point of view, that he actually wished that our politicians had some resolve. He's very 3D. He's an accountant. He wished that, you know, our politicians had more resolve, that he really agrees with what the president said, and that we really do have to kill them before they kill us. And I said, well, I respect that you feel that way. I feel completely differently. And I'm going to go ahead and take it down because I don't want to create any controversy. Whatever reason I was supposed to do it, it must have already happened. I'm going to take it down. And I did. And while I was taking it down, he wrote back to me, he goes, no, please don't take it down. I kind of like the interesting dialogue that can be created from something like that. Because to be honest with you, never thought of it that way before. And I'm thinking about it now, and I'm wondering what that all means. Then the next day, another friend of mine who's real diligent, he gets a bone and he chews it, and you know, all the meat's gone, and he's still and he writes to me personally, and he says, what do you think of all this ISIS stuff? And I know better than to tell him, because whatever I say, he'll take the opposite side, because that's what he does. He likes that. You know, that's his thing, and you know, and I love him anyway. So I said, I don't think it's a good idea for us to have this conversation. You've tried this with me before, and we end up never agreeing, and I don't like the way it feels, and I don't really want to invite that in. And he goes, no, please tell me what you think. So I basically said the same thing that I told my other friend, that it's not real, that, you know, blah, 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 blah. And he writes back and said, and I ended it by saying, I don't want to invite any more of this in, but you did ask me my opinion, and you seem pretty insistent, so I'm going to share it with you. And I shared it, and at the end I said, but in the end, the most important thing is that we're happy. And I said, I'm very happy, and I wish the same for you. And instead of writing back and writing anything, you know, to attack me again, to keep me in the debate because he loves the debate, he said, I'm happy too, which threw me for a loop. So what you said about people waking up or starting to question as a result of these activities, I had 2 direct situations of that in my own life with these 2 people who are very solidly placed in the 3D reality at the. So Lisa is somewhere else right now. I'm going to take a drink of my tea here. This is really good. This is orange tangerine tea, and it's really, really good. I also like Earl Grey. I think it tastes like grape. And what's the other one? Green tea. Ooh, green tea tastes really good too, and it's really good for you. Well, since we're still waiting for Lisa, I picked a different locale this time to record from, to broadcast from. This is called the Blue Room, and as you can see, it's not blue, but it was blue once upon a time, and then they painted it to match the rest of the house. It was mauve and cream colors and stuff. But I like it, and it's just a different perspective from this amazingly beautiful home. It's just filled with artifacts and things like that. And there she is.
I'm back. Sorry.
Okay.
I was having internet little glitches as well. So don't know what that's about. So I missed what you said.
What are people?
Basically, what you just finished with.
Oh, that's okay. I was filling the air with, you know, chit chat. What are the people in the chat room saying?
Good for you, Barbara. And Jim shared a Bob Newhart clip. I'm not sure what that's about. Maybe Jim could just tell me. Camilla, what did you mean by that's exactly what the asleep have said this week? Not cold at all. That's about it. Where were we? Sorry, where were we?
I was just talking about a couple of friends who, through this pair situation, seem to have their egg cracked, and they're beginning to consider the possibility that there's something more going here.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you see the glitches. I mean, these things get dissected and exposed so quickly now. And if you're on Facebook, I don't care how asleep you are, you've got to have one friend these days who's posting stuff and, you know, try to wake you up. I don't think there's any avoiding it anymore. So Facebook's been great for that. But every time I know I see it, I see like your friends who are starting to think of it maybe a little differently. Somebody cracks. And I want to actually go back to what you talked about earlier that was personal, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
You were saying,
sure.
You were saying that the state that you were in at the time that guy broke into your house, you know, you could see that you were resonating at a place that
I was a victim.
Yeah, in a way it invited that in, but the result of that was that you left town and moved to New York. Mm-hmm. And your whole life changed as a result of moving to New York, from what I can gather. A lot of opportunities opened up for you over there. And so as horrible and traumatic and painful and horror that experience was, the change that it led you to make. When you talked the other week about the quickest point or the quickest route between point A and point B, you know, as horrible as that was it the quickest route?
Well, yeah, I'm with you, and I don't have any issues looking at it from that point of view, because maybe that's exactly what it took. I maybe wouldn't have been willing to take that kind of a leap at that point, because I was really, my self-esteem was, even though I had a great job, my self-esteem was really low. So I probably wouldn't have had the personal power to say, I'm going to try something new. I would have just stayed there where it was safe, because even I learned this from, you know, I probably learned it from my mother, but I learned this by watching my mother, that she was depressed her whole life. I love the woman, but she was depressed because she didn't get the life that she wanted. And she talked about it and she lived in it, but it was safe. Going outside that conversation, taking any steps to change it, was not safe. It was the unknown. So sometimes you're unwilling to venture beyond what you know, even if beyond what you know is where all the happiness is, because at least you know this reality, and you can survive in it because you understand it. It's a level of safety, even though it's pitiful. You understand, you can relate to it, you know. And so I don't know if I would have been willing to take a leap like that. I've stayed in the kind of my victimhood,
and it's not that it
so
was,
you know, I had.
Oh, sorry, you're coming through all scratchy, and I know it's at my end, but it's so. What I see is, like, had you been in a different place, there could have been a more positive direct route from A to B, but from where you were at, that was the most direct.
I think that's a big part of it.
Simply because I know, simply because of my internet right now. I don't know how long I'm going to last. So I wanted to broach this with everybody listening and those in the chat room who can give us the feedback. The collective intentions that we've done up to this point have been, as you all know, we go through this process where we ground ourselves, roots around the core of the earth, do all of that. But I was wondering whether, just in light of the conversations we've been having lately, whether you guys would be up to actually doing the process that I did myself personally, and I've shared a little bit of over the last week, of connecting with our own center, not trying to connect with anything external, being even the planet, and just doing a self-cleanse process. If you guys are open for that, just to try something different. Yes.
I am.
Okay. Because I personally found it really powerful.
I said to you just briefly the other day, I lost my thought. So keep talking. Let me see if I can get it back.
Well, I was talking about, if this was what triggered it, I was talking about self-healing, self-clearing. You've frozen for me, I think.
No, I'm thinking.
Okay. I have to find the process. So, Biggie, if you could put on a clip for a couple of minutes, and if we can get some, just to have a look. Yep, everybody seems to be saying yes to that one. If you can play a clip for another couple of minutes, I will find the information that we're looking for. Barbara will find her thought.
Well, you know what? I didn't find the thought again, but I can fill the time while you look for something so we don't have to go to a clip.
Okay.
I have a couple of cool synchronicities that happened to me this week. So I'm going to bring up some stuff and share my screen. I'm instantly manifesting, you guys, at a rate that just even blows my own mind. And every time I just get so tickled by it. To bring up one that's happened most recently that I call Party in the Parking Lot. So let me share my screen. And where is it? Here it is. Let me start with this one. This is just the folder with the pictures in it, because I want to tell the story in order. I was just going for a walk in the neighborhood that I'm in. The homeowner here told me that he used to live on 7th Street, and this is 3rd Street. So I was really curious, and I found out where the house was, and it's so charming because it's so close that I can envision him walking when he was dating his now wife 20, 30 years ago. Between the two houses, it's just really charming. But I was out walking, and I came upon this area. Let's make sure that you can you still see that, Biggie, or do I need to go to share a different thing? Hey, Biggie, is this being shared? Hey, Lisa, can you look up for a second and see if you see a picture there?
I do.
Do you see a picture? Okay. Yep. So I was here, but this parking lot was completely empty. It was on Sunday, and yeah. But this is approximately what my vantage point was. I was standing about here when this thought hit me, but this whole parking lot was empty. It was on a Sunday. There is the university is right over here, and there's a football stadium. So everyone was coming to the game at that time on Sunday. And I just come around the university, come down this road called Park. Now I'm walking down here, and this whole thing is empty except for there's one car, but about 3 families worth of people. I don't know where they came from. And next to the car was a barbecue grill, a couple of containers filled with beer, and there was music blasting, and they were dancing, and they were having a party in the parking lot. And I was thinking, that's so cute, a party in the parking lot. Let's see if I can take a picture. But it just felt like it would have been too intrusive, and I would have been obvious in it because it's just me and these people partied in the parking lot right there. So I didn't, and I wish that I would have. So then what I did was I walked. Let me show you this. I just kept walking down 7th, and here's where I just showed you that picture. And that's the wrong thing. It's not letting me. Can you see the other side of that picture? There we go. And then you can see it. I walked along all of this, and then when I got here, something interesting happened. You can see that this. Yeah, that's what you're supposed to be seeing.
Okay.
This is a Google map, and this is the location where that parking lot was that I just showed you. And this is my route. I just kept walking. And then I got to this location right here. And so you can see that the football stadium is right here. And so people were parking everywhere around here. Again, why that parking lot was empty, I have no clue. And it shows the total distance. Well, I looked that up, and that's like 0.8 of a mile. So it's almost a mile. And I'd even said to Lisa, it was just short of a mile before this happened. And so this area right here, I'm going to show you this. It's not big enough to see what you're pointing out on the map. This isn't big enough. It's not like taking up the whole screen.
No, I'm seeing your whole desktop.
Well, that's okay. I don't mind that. But this is that area I was just talking about. And I was looking down here. It's the only reason I heard this conversation, because you don't find this kind of weird brush, and there's like this creepy little lake down there, but it makes for good pictures. So I'm poking my head down over this thing, looking down here, seeing if there's anything picture worthy. And right here, there's,
Your
as you'll see in a
mouse,
moment, there's parked.
your mouse, whatever you're pointing
Yeah.
to, is actually just scrolling over the screen over your files. It's not on the picture.
It isn't. Oh, see,
No.
that's what I thought. That's why I was, okay, hang on. So I'm sharing, I need to share a different way. I need to share, I was just sharing a window before. Okay,
No, I was seeing
share
the whole,
screen.
like the
I'll
whole
just
window with
share
the
my-
files. And
Okay, can you see better now? Because I'm showing everything.
hasn't come up for me yet.
Is-
That's better.
Okay, well,
Now I can see it.
crap. Okay, well, I'm gonna, okay, just to recap real quick, I'll just go to this one, because the parking lot's the parking lot. Here's the route. Here's where I was standing, and this is about just short of a mile. And this location right over here is where I'm going to show you the next Google screenshot where this happened. So this is where I was standing, looking over here. Right here, as you'll see in a moment, an RV was parked here, and in front of it, a car. People get out of the RV, and they walk up to these people and say, that the gentleman who's driving says, "Hi, I know this is really strange, but we've never been to a professional or college football game like this before that's televised. We've never been to anything like this before. We're not even from this town. And we don't know where to go from here. We know we're close, but do you think you can point us in the right direction? Because it looks like you're going there." And the guy goes, "Sure, we can do that. I'll do that if you're willing to show me the inside of your RV." And I'm standing over here, and it's the only reason I can hear it. And the guy then says, as I'm still kind of leaning over this barricade, sticking my camera down there, or my cell phone, he said, "Sure, we can have a party in the parking lot." And I'm thinking, I just thought that. I even thought about taking a picture and captioning that. And less than a mile away, where I didn't hear any other conversations, the first one I hear, a guy says the same thing, and it's not even a parking lot. So now I walk. I want to take a picture. I'm walking and I'm hiding behind this tree here when you see these pictures, because I don't want him to see me, but I'm desperate to take this picture, only for my own benefit. So then these are the two pictures, and neither one do I get the man that's talking. But this is the RV, and here's me hiding behind the trees. Here's this gentleman, and this is his wife right here. These two people were in this car. This woman and her husband who's inside there are the ones that, were talking to them, and he's the one that said, "Oh, party in the parking lot." So, that's basically the gist of it. I don't have to share all the pictures and all that kind of stuff for you to get the idea. To me, it was not even 10 minutes later, and it was the same exact thing that I just said to myself. Now, that is instant manifestation. You think it over here, it comes out over there. And that's the kind of thing, the cool kind of thing that happens to me all the time. So did that give you enough time, Lisa, to find your notes and things?
Yeah. Yep, I'm good. Now, what's concerning me, though, is if I'm coming through clear enough to be able to say this. Otherwise...
You are.
I am? Okay. Okay. No, it's on me. So, if possible, this done when connected to the earth. You're sitting on it, your hands and feet in it, whether it's at the sand at the beach or at the park or on in your backyard, wherever. So if you're listening to us on your phone or some sort of mobile device, then you can get there. That's great. Or take note of it, and we'll do it again later when you can be out in nature on your phone. But so get yourself comfortable, of course, and I will just put something on screen for you all instead of my face. Okay. There we go. How's that? You seeing our logo there, our sigil? So take a few deep breaths. Bring your attention to what I call your higher heart, your center, your internal sun. Take some deep breaths and really feel into that space. It's in your higher heart area, your higher chest area. And say, I command that my spirit, and then say your name. So I command that my spirit, Lisa Harrison, be in full and total control of my vehicle. Take some nice deep breaths. Repeat it if you have to. I command that my spirit, Lisa Harrison, be in full and total control of my vehicle. I command that all negative spiritual entities, spiritual beings, influences, attachments, you have until the count of 5 to go back to your source. After which all portals and wormholes from which you came will be closed forever. Anything that remains will be resolved back to its original source on the count of 5. I command that all negative spirits, entities, beings, influences, and attachments have until the count of 5 to go back to your original source, and all portals and wormholes from which you came will be closed forever. Anything remaining will be resolved back to its original source on the count of 5. Really feel into that power center and count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now close off all portals, wormholes, or avenues. See them closing, dissolving. I command that they close permanently now. Just continue to breathe, feeling into that power center, knowing that your spirit is clearing and cleaning up. Dissolving. And closing. My spirit, and say your name, is in total control at all times of my vehicle. All access is denied to other spiritual entities, energies, beings, attachments from this point forward. This is my vehicle, my space, my game. And really feel into your center when you do it. Ask your spirit to scan your physical body, your energetic body, for any remaining attachments, programs, implants, anything that is influencing it, disturbing it, manipulating it. And just command that it dissolve them now, and just allow it to do what it wants to do. Express gratitude to your spirit. Thank you, spirit. And come back when you're ready.
Wow.
Yeah,
Where do I
that was good.
begin?
Oh, good. I don't know.
I'm
The beginning.
You know, when we do our meditations, I'm usually spent, but now I just feel like somebody just adrenalized me. You said the first thing. Well, I kept my eyes closed. My experience was kind of like this. When we did the countdown, I followed you and did everything that you said, and and really felt in. And when we did the countdown, do you know when you get goosebumps and it feels kind of like something comes off of you when you get goosebumps everywhere? It's like, and it's a feeling I can't put words to, but it's like I felt like a release, like this everywhere. And then when you went in and you were saying, okay, now scan your body and do all that, I am not, and I don't think it's related to the chakra thing at all, but all the way down my back, I started like getting, I'm shaking now. It's like, when you go into the freezing cold and you don't have a coat on, down my back, and then out from that area outward, like when it was here, it was coming out here. When it was in my back, it was coming out my middle and my arms. I felt like cold rushes, but I was shaking. My body's moving like this. And I was like, oh, and I'm just letting my body scan. And I started at the top and I moved all the way down. And by the time it was all done, I felt like I'd just been given a shot of adrenaline. It's great. I feel great. I don't know if that's what's supposed to happen, but that's what happened to me.
That's awesome. Let's see what's going on in the chat room. Nice. Not like usual, a higher, more awake feeling. Yeah, I get that. I had lots of green and gold light, then heat.
Oh, that's another thing. Once it was all done and we were just sitting there and I heard you do the deep breath out, at that point, my eyes are closed, but I can see anyway. And I saw me looking out back at me. So like me is standing in front of me. All I could see were like the eyes, and I'm looking at my own eyes or the eyes of myself. I recognize that as me looking at me. And then it just kind of, just vaporized away.
Okay, feeling very charged. Yeah. The first time I did that, I just felt this, I don't know, explosion from my heart, and all this emotion poured. But that feeling too, like I almost expected to see it, like heat haze. You could feel something lifting off your skin, out of there, off your skin.
And I thought I was clear. I'm now clearer.
Sensations and a few tears. Yeah, I think that's a really quick, easy clearing process that you can do anytime. And but I think it's more powerful when you are grounded with the, hug a tree when you're doing it, or sit in the sand, or just stand, but hands and feet preferably grounded on the earth, or with some part of nature. It just seems to really blow it out. A few tears. The green and gold is that the chakras. Did it feel like it came from a particular spot from within your body, or was it just an infusion everywhere? More awake and more energy when we are totally aligned with our spirit. I've never felt better, more alive. Oh, awesome, Candy. Not clear on that. Okay. Well, like I said when I explained it before, that when I saw color, they would absolutely coming from particular chakras. Now, but I did say the first time, I didn't add it this time because I didn't know where everybody was sitting with the whole chakra thing. But when we got to the point of saying, okay, now body scan for implants and everything, and I actually said including the chakras. Now, that was something I did personally, and you can add that for yourself if you want to have a look, and just get a feeling for it. But that's what I added, and that's when I saw particular colors coming out of the chakras. So yeah, have a play with that one, and let us know if you go and do it again and have a play with it, maybe include the chakras, maybe not, whatever you want to do. But let us know in the Facebook page, the Collective Imagination Facebook page, what your experiences are. Because I had the same thing. It's more charged and more alive and awake and connected feeling than the meditations we've been doing, the more grounding ones. They do, I mean, especially those ones that I used to do with Michael Monk, I would be completely wiped out.
Yeah,
that's why
I
we
was
did
me
right
too.
at the end of the show. It was like, okay, because I can't talk now. But this whole process is very charging. And I like the idea that it's just me dealing, I'm not trying to connect with anything external. It's just me and my spirit doing that thing. It feels good. I feel and felt as if unwinding, as if DNA is unwind. Felt this for instance now and saw white. Okay. Through your
is this part of the holographic?
Sorry?
Is that part of the holographic kinetic stuff?
Not necessarily, no. Certainly commanding that your spirit is in charge of your vehicle. That comes out of holographic kinetics. A girlfriend of mine who has done the holographic kinetics course got to a point where she wanted to do it on herself, basically. And she went down to the beach one day and she sort of connected with her spirit, and she said this is what her spirit told her to do in order to cleanse and clear herself. So in a roundabout way, yes, because her connection to spirit was built on, I mean, she's always had one. She's one of those people. They've always been very connected to her spirit. But through her holographic kinetics training, she sort of got even more in touch, and the communication system just really opened up for her. And so her spirit told her.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she shared it with me. Now I want to ask people this. And this is not about fear mongering at all, but it seems to me when there is negative influences going on, manipulations, attempts at least, the back of the neck, it's like straight out of the Matrix film. the back of the neck is where the activity seems to happen. Now, whether it's a headache, a tingling sensation, heat, but the back of the neck does seem to be prominent. So if you feel any activity like that, just do that process and see what happens. And if you get one of those headaches for no reason out of the blue that just sit near the back of the neck, just do that. That's there are a lot of people out there who know they're what they call targeted individuals, and everyone needs tools.
Mm-hmm.
And I think to some degree the brighter we shine energetically, it does get attention. So it's just good to have some tools in your back pocket. Wish I had the whole world could feel this at the same time. Yeah, that it would be really, really cool. That's where all my headaches start. Well, try this process right when you start to get a headache. Lots of tension. Yeah. There is this spot, and you just know, you little fuckers, go away. Yeah, well, I'm glad we got through that without the internet disruptions. And
yeah, and we're not wiped out. We're awake and aware.
Yeah, and I mean that's just I guess a nice basis or a framework for everyone to play with and build on. Take it wherever you want to take it. But just the process of saying, I command that I am in control of this vehicle. In that moment, for me at least, when I really do that, I feel spirit. It's like spirit goes, oh, yes. Hey, I'm here. Hello.
Yes. In that moment, I had the exact same experience.
And you know whether it's you or not. You can feel it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like one of the things through the holographic course that I did is that one of the experiences I had was, in a way, this profound sadness, because I felt like my spirit, truly my spirit, has been just sitting there quietly in the background, not taking any of the credit, not getting any of the glory, just sitting there going, I'm here. Oh, that was me. Hi. Because like a neglected child, we thank the universe, we thank the freaking angels, we thank the whoever and whatever there is out there that we think that we are
outside of yourself.
Yeah, and everyone else gets the credit for whenever anything wonderful happens in your life. How easy is it for us to thank God or thank the universe or thank something else, and it's this little quiet spirit that's sitting there all along orchestrating all of this. And I just felt like a neglectful mother in a way. It's like, oh, you poor thing, I haven't really truly acknowledged you and really truly given you any love in return, for the life that we're creating together. Because it does feel like this co-creation between Lisa, the, I guess, ego, personality, soul, and spirit. The two of us are working together to co-create this experience. And wasn't giving her any credit at all. That was really profound. And no, I'm not the only person who had that experience coming coming out of HK. But when you do get in touch with it, and for me, that's where she lives, you know, it's right there. It's, you know who he is, and it's just super powerful. And it's a relationship. It's a co-creative relationship. That's how it feels.
Nope. Did she freeze? Uh-oh. SpaghettiOs. No. She's getting in touch with the other, you know, with her essence of Lisa. That's so funny. The other Lisa just said, okay, I'm done. That's all that we needed to say. Well, I'll tell you what. Hopefully she's going to come back. I've got more filler. I always have filler. Let me see what else I can find here. Oh, maybe she's coming back. Let's see. Oh, this is kind of cool. Let me open that one and then share the screen. I'm only going to do this until Lisa comes back, guys, because I got synchronicities coming out of my synchronicities. Let's see. Here it is. This happened this morning. The picture on the right side of the moth, I took, I don't know, sometime a few days ago. And what is this, Tuesday? Every Tuesday for one of my clients, I do something called Dear BCI Investor. And it just starts off every time, Dear BCI Investor, blah, 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 blah. And it has to do with, you know, how great the services are. And I always use one of my own pictures because then I don't have to ask anybody for permission to use theirs. And I always go through my pictures to figure out which ones I want to, you know, what picture can I use today, you know, for the event today. So I'm looking through them, as you can see, because this is a screenshot of my computer. And over here are all the pictures I was looking through. And I just happened to be stopped on this one. And I was thinking about it, and I wasn't really sure. And ultimately, I used it only because of the synchronicity. So while I'm working on this, in the background, I'm playing some music. And I just happened to be playing Alan Parsons Project. And it was on this song called Some Other Time. And as I'm scrolling through this list of photos, and this picture is there, these lyrics start. Like a mirror held before me, large as the sky is wide, and the image is reflected back to the other side. Could it be that somebody else is looking into my mind, some other place, somewhere, some other time? And because I'm looking at a picture of something that's reflecting onto itself, and I was actually thinking to myself, you know, that kind of looks like a mirror image. I could probably work with that. I stopped and took a screenshot, pulled up the lyrics, of course, and took a screenshot because, again, that's the way synchronicities happen to me. I'm doing something and something else is going on at the same time, and the two things connect to each other. That was kind of a fun one. Oh, and I'm not sharing anymore. I have another fun one that happened, I think it's this one, that happened, I don't know, more than a week ago. Let me open this one. Now, I do have all the particulars marked out so that you don't know who the person is. But I was having a conversation with the homeowner here. He was here a week before last, and it was during dinner. And we don't sit and have dinner every night, but this night we were having dinner just so that, you know, we can just talk about stuff. And we were talking about that I used to live in Oak Park, Illinois. I worked in Oak Brook and lived in Oak Park. And Oak Park is a really wonderful place. Frank Lloyd Wright had his studio in one of his homes there. It's the last stop on one of the L trains. It's one of the first mixed community, you know, intentionally mixed communities that I know of in the country. It's right on the precipice of the Chicago border, the literal Chicago to the border to the city of Chicago. And on one side are projects, on the other side is Oak Park, which is a beautiful place. It's dry, there's no alcohol. So we were having the whole gamut of conversations about Oak Park. And he asked me to specify, because he's from Illinois, a suburb of Chicago as well. And he had heard of Oak Park, but he said, "Did you mean Oak Park or Oak Brook?" And I said, "Well, that's funny. You should ask. I worked at Oak Brook and I lived in Oak Park, so I kind of had a reverse commute." The next day, he left the next morning. The next day, because I go through their mail and then ship it to them every couple of weeks. I'm going through their mail and they get a letter, a personal card from someone in Oak Park, Illinois. Now, I don't ever remember talking about Oak Park for years and years and years and years and years, or saying that specifically, the word Oak Park. But the very next morning, a personal card to them. And so I'm dying to know who these people are and why they're, if they live in Oak Park, why are they, writing to them? But I'm sure I'll soon find out. But that was another really cool synchronicity. I talk about someplace, and the next morning, a letter comes in the mail from that exact same place. That's cool, weird. So since Lisa's not here, I'm sure I can find at least one more. Let's see, what else do I have here? Oh, here's one. This one I haven't even posted anywhere or anything yet. I don't know. I don't think I have. I'm not sharing the screen, I don't think. 1 second. Share screen. This has to actually do with Lisa, which is kind of funny. It was Friday at 7:39 in the morning, and I'm watching the show that Lisa did on Wednesday that I wasn't able to get online for. And right here at 48:23, she says something about the tunnel of white light that people always talk about that they see. And again, I'm sitting here listening, but I've got my phone out and I'm going through pictures, figuring out which ones I want to upload to the net, and then they download to my computer so I can work on them and do stuff like that with them. And I just happened to be on this picture of a cloud. You can see that there are several pictures I took of a cloud formation that was just this tunnel of white billowiness. But again, I'm looking at the moment, I'm flipping through, flip, and when I land on this one, which is the first one in that series, you can tell because it's darker, she talks about the white light that people talk about when they die and not to go towards it or something like that. So how cool is that? I mean, this is how my life is. I'm dying to know and, swap stories with other people, because I'm not the only one. I'm just probably one of the, knuckleheads that spends their time taking screenshots and pictures of stuff like this so that I can share them with people and go, look, isn't this cool? But again, it reminds me that I'm connected. Nothing really more than that. But they happen to me constantly. Probably by the time the show's over, I'll have had a couple more. Well, and since Lisa's not back, let's see what else I can think of to talk about that has to do with the topics at hand. Let me see. Well, this isn't synchronistic, but it has to do with consciousness. I see what I think is Lisa trying to come online through someone else's account. So she's trying anyway. But a couple of days ago, I just happened to be sitting in the same place that, this is a different background. Usually I'm sitting in the kitchen at the dining room table. And that's where I do most of my work. And I'm looking out the window. It had been raining off and on, and there was a giant rainbow right above the house across the street. And I just happened to look, and when I just turned my head to look, it's the deepest, richest colors. It's not like just one of those really flighty ones. And it was only maybe a little more than a quarter of a rainbow, but it starts behind one house and it goes up and it disappears behind a teeny tiny little fluffy cloud. And so I grab my camera, which I keep nearby, and I run outside and I'm click. Every person who walks by, I'm like, do you see the rainbow? And all of them are like, no. And it's right there. I can't believe people don't look up. They just don't look up. And there's this gorgeous rainbow. And again, that's the kind of things that I feel really grateful that I experience is not, I mean, sure, there's a rainbow and people see rainbows, but it's right outside my window. And I just happened to look at the same moment. And by the time I grabbed my camera and went outside, about a minute had passed. And I looked through the series of photos that I took, and the time only changed from, like, let's say it was, I don't know, 12:01. It went to 12:03, and I took maybe 50 pictures. I was just going click, 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 and then changing positions, click, 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 click. And I did it all within a couple minutes, and it was gone. It was completely gone. It started fading to a lighter color, and then it was gone. So if I wouldn't have looked, in 2 minutes it would have been gone. I could have looked in 2 minutes and never known it was there. So again, I think when you're connected, when you feel that your consciousness, that you're moving through life from a place of consciousness, that those things find you, or you are compelled to look at those moments because they're for you, and it's wonderful. It's marvelous. I get to see beautiful things all the time. Let's see what else. I'll tell you what, while she's still trying to come back, I'm going to go to Facebook, because usually I post some stuff on Facebook that gives me some things to think about and talk about. Just trying to, you guys can't see I'm doing this, but I'm trying to open Facebook, and it's just taking a little longer because I have a lot of things open. Here we go. Let's see. Go back to Zoom. Share my screen. There it is. So now you can see my Facebook page. By the way, I just had this thing that said, just in case you didn't think anything expansive was happening. I'm sure it's in my things. If you like good news, it's just always good news, news that makes you feel happy. Like the page, just in case you didn't think anything expansive was happening. That's all she posts is good news. But let's see if I've got anything here that is noteworthy. Just pictures. I took pictures. Oh, as a matter of fact, that story I was telling you about the, party in the parking lot. I took this, it's just maybe a half a block from that first sighting of those people in the parking lot. This was in the Geological Weather Building on campus. Here's that rainbow. Cool. Let's see if I can open this. Trying to open it. Okay, so there's one shot of it. I took hundreds, so I just took the two easiest for me to, leave them almost as is and then post them. That's the house across the street that I see through my kitchen window. And here's just another version of that same house. It's a really long house, so this part is connected over here. So if you add this to that, you can kind of get an idea of how long the house is. What else do I have on my Facebook page? Oh, if I could get out of this. Yeah, we see there's a rainbow. Let's go. That's Emily, the black cat, who I was doing some healing. I'm pointing with my finger. This is the area of her that's a little bit stiff and sore as she's getting older. This is I don't post a lot of woo, but this was kind of interesting because if you watch this video, they display along the bottom the wrong ball number when a ball comes down. But what they do is they give the ball number that's going to come after. So what they do, they know what the balls are going to be, and they just printed them in the wrong order. So, if you win Powerball, it looks like it may just be rigged. Oh, and this is cool for anyone who didn't see this. I tried to post it on this is just appearing on my page because Lisa posted it and linked me. But on this right here on this archive, I actually noticed something when I was watching the show that day. When I was talking to you about it a moment ago. At 51 minutes and 30 seconds, approximately, the caller talks about working through one's karma. And anyway, you can read that for yourself. The cool thing is that this was on 11/11 Lisa's time. It was 11/10 here in the States, but she's in Australia, so it was November the 11th. So we've got 1/11/11. And I stopped just past this because this person was talking about something, and I went back to get the exact spot so I could reference it in the message. And it was right before this. So I went back a little bit further, and that's when I realized that at 11/11/11, Lisa said something really cool. Let's see. I'll have to click on this picture and see what I said that she said. Come on, text. She's so cool that she is cooler than words. Oh, come on. Oh, here we go. Because I could paraphrase it, but it's not the same. So she said, if you, out of your thoughts, intentions, and actions, create a scenario that is of you giving something positive, then you will also be at the other end. You'll experience the receiving of something positive. And it was just something she said, during the show, like all the other things we say. But this word positive is what she said at exactly 11/11/11. So in other words, it was 11 minutes, 11 seconds, and 11 1,000ths of a second mark on that show, as you can see right there. I'm sorry, it was 1 hour, 11 minutes, and 11 seconds. I apologize. She said the word positive, and it was framed within this sentence that all took place within the 11 seconds. It just wasn't at 11/11/11/11. The word positive was said at that point, which is really, really cool. Sometimes you catch these things just by accident, and you realize that there's magic happening all the time around you. You're just not always aware of it. And I didn't post this synchronicity either, but I put it here in the comments section. I posted this picture, and then later on that day, I'm just flipping through TV channels, looking for something my son told me to look for. And All in the Family was on, and it was an old archived issue. And Archie said they were at dinner with another couple, and Archie said, I'd love to be a fly on the wall when blah, 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 blah. And I just recently posted that picture of a that I titled Fly on the Wall. Again, another really cool situation. Oh, this will give you some heads up. This is my sister. I know this has nothing to do with consciousness, but we're here, so why not? This is my brother-in-law. This is and two of her 3 kids. You've all seen that before because I've talked about that. Just another synchronicity that I mentioned. We don't have to really go into. That was actually pretty fascinating. A friend of mine actually put this on my wall, and this turned out synchronistically. I captured it here. When she put that on Facebook on my wall, at the same time I was watching Transpicuous News, and at the moment that I got the ding, on my computer, somewhere else I had another Facebook window open. She was talking about the exact same thing, and then I go and do a split screen to see what that ding was for. And my friend had just shared this with me to make sure that I saw it because she knows I'm into all kinds of cool space stuff. So it happened at the exact same time that Danny was talking about it. I'm filling time here, guys. This is what it looks like when I come back from the market because I walk to the market. I don't have to walk to the market, but I do. And this is what it looks like when I come back because, I'm trying to get some exercise and to reduce my carbon footprint. Support CCN. Go now. Well, when the show's over, go and support CCN. And this is a really good video that I love Mel V, and I love this. I'm sure Biggie put this together. This is a really fun video to watch. It's really snappy and, you know, upbeat, and you get to know a lot about CCN by watching that. I don't know if any of you saw this or if I talked about it, but I get these anomalies while I'm here. I'm trying to capture them, but taking pictures of stars is not my forte. And every once in a while I get lucky. But as you can see, this is a sky here filled with stars. And then what the heck is this? You know, this is a huge, I mean, it's the whole sky. That's why everything looks so small. But let me zoom in on it for you. So, and all I know is it's an anomaly. I'm not saying what it is or what it isn't because I have no clue, but I see this stuff here all the time. I'll just mention one. I'm going to use my finger. I see things that look like they're going at the speed of a shooting star, like shoo, or like shoo. I'm trying to get across the whole thing real fast. But I've seen them that go whoosh. Come on. Shooting stars don't go whoosh or whoosh or whoosh. They go straight. And if you look really close at this, trying to zoom in, it's just, I've already zoomed in. It's just taking the computer a moment to catch up. Well, Padilla, I zoomed in so much now I can't see it. You get the gist of it. It's moving. It's not a straight line. And now I'm trying to zoom out and it's not cooperating. Well, that was a nice experiment in fruitality. Or fruitality. I could go eat some fruit right now. Can't close the window either. Let's see if I can get back over here. But you can get this. You can see that it moved as it's going down, and then that time-lapse photo was what? How many seconds? No more than 8 or 10, probably as few as 3 or 4. So that's a lot of movement in the giant sky. And I actually was able to set this one up a little bit. I'm pointing it northeast, more north than east. But pure south, this light was coming right towards, it wasn't, going left or right or up or down. It was just coming towards me. So it was getting a little bit bigger. And then when it got to a certain point, it just started to curve, and it was going from south now towards the east, but in a curved position as if it's going to turn and go east, but it's curving right over my head. And then when it curves over and goes east, then it starts to drop down. Because it was moving, and I just happened to have the camera out trying to take pictures of stars and catch any anomalies. And usually I do that just by clicking and letting time exposure, and then click again, time exposure, and hope for something. But since I saw this coming, and it was going faster than a plane, but slower than a meteor, because there were meteor showers that night, I was able to turn the camera around and point it in that direction and wait. And when it got there, I just was click, click, click. And the only one that really came out was this one. So I have no idea what that was. It could be a satellite or a drone or something. For all I know, there's a military base nearby. But I've seen some really weird stuff before. Now it seems like I can't close. It's not letting me get out of this picture. Which tells me it's time to close Facebook because it's not working very well. So I'm going to do a stop share and see if I can get out of this. I'm trying, Biggie. Looks like I'm stuck a little bit. Well, I guess I could close Chrome. If it'll even let me do that. Yeah, see, it won't. Well, I've got a little spinning top. Biggie, can you even pop up and tell me if if it stopped sharing or not? Because I see the little green box. And I'm trying to get out of it. All right. Well, I can't close. They won't even let me close it, or it won't let me stop sharing. And even if I got rid of the box, I'm sure it's still going to show up. Okay, so I guess the universe wants you to really recognize that there is an anomaly going on in the skies of southern Arizona. Okay, so we've got like 10 minutes left. I guess Lisa isn't going to make it back. Biggie, can you read in the chat room and see if the people are having any comments worthy of sharing or any questions that they have? So ask me a question. You've got, less than 10 minutes, maybe 5, 6, 7 minutes. If you got any questions, I'm here. Well, maybe we should do a meditation for Facebook. Well, let's see if I can come up with maybe one more story to share with you guys. I have one, but this isn't a synchronicity per se, but it does make me question reality. When I was about 11, I was fishing on, it was probably 4th of July, either that or another holiday that falls in the summertime. And my family had a pontoon, for those of you who know what a pontoon is. And we had invited a bunch of our neighbors and family friends to join us out there so we could have a nice picnic in the grounds right outside where all the pontoons, all the pontoon owners are parked, and then take pontoon rides. So we're out on the pontoon, my dad and me, and probably a handful of other people, probably 10, give or take, a couple of kids, and the rest were adults. And I'm on the back of the pontoon casting. And we used to do both, just regular old reel, and, you cast and you roll it back in to catch the fish, or we would do trolling where the boat moves and you just leave the fishing pole and the line out the back, and then, the movement catches the fishes. Right then we were stopped, and I was casting off the back, me and some other kid, whom I'm sure I know, but I couldn't tell you today who that was. And I apparently cast and stepped right off the boat, because there's a little thing about this high that goes around all the back of the little area off. There's like the pontoon and then kind of like the patio. And then it's got this little fence around it with a little gap where the motor would be. So apparently that's where I just cast and just kept going. Now, I've been on a swim team, forcibly so, since I was about 4 years old. In the winters, I'd swim for the YMCA, and in the summers, I'd swim for the local pool in our neighborhood. And it was a big deal. In our neighborhood, being on the swim team was something that, almost everybody wanted to do. So I knew how to swim, is the point. And I don't have any memory of 1 minute I'm fishing, the next minute I kind of come to, I'm just aware that I'm sitting in a lawn chair and there are big faces in front of me. People are like on their knees in my face. And I don't know what happened between those 2 points at all. And the interesting thing about that is that the people who were in my face, as soon as I didn't realize I was waking up, but as soon as I kind of came to, and I'm aware that they're in front of me, they're like all cheering, yay! But not like, oh my God, thank God you're okay. They're not rushing to get the pontoon back. Everybody's just, great, you're okay now. And we just go back to whatever it was we were doing. And my dad comes by and goes, listen, Barbie, you probably shouldn't say anything to your mother because we don't want to worry her. And probably the same with your sister. Something like that. I don't remember exactly what he said, but I remember him saying, you don't say anything. And I didn't have any reason to say anything because I didn't really know what happened. And here's what I'm told happened. I cast off and I just kept going, and I was under the water. And my father said that he was laying on this extension off of the patio with his hand down in the water reaching for me because it's so, mucky, you can't really see anything. And by my hair, he grabs my hair to pull me up. And then once they get me that high, then they get me on the boat. And I don't know what happened after that. I mean, I didn't really ask very many questions. And so today, I should say back in 2009, when my mom was transitioning and I was there with her in hospice care in Fort Wayne, Indiana, my sister and I were there, and I brought this up. And, of course I didn't tell them, but I thought for sure somewhere along the line they had heard about it. No one had ever told them. They thought I was making it up. nobody on the boat told them, and they were like family friends. You know how women gossip, especially back in, this must have been if I was 11, it must have been 1970. So the late 60s, early 70s. And nobody told my mom, not in one of those coffee clutch sessions with the phones on the wall with the great big cords, and they'd walk around the house for hours talking as they're doing dishes and stuff. And I still don't know what happened, but it makes me question, why didn't I swim? Why wasn't everyone panicked? What really happened? I have no record. And why wasn't I on the ground? Why was I in a chair when I kind of came to? I don't have any answers. And my mom had never been told the story, and my sister had never been told the story. So to this day, I am really curious about what really happened, because I'm sure there's a heck of a lot more to that story than I know. And that's all I know. So that's the end of that story. If anyone else has had an interesting experience, I don't know if I died and came back. I don't know if I was abducted by aliens and came back. I have no clue. I just find it, at my age now, looking back on it, I find it fascinating that there was no panic, and that they were just like, oh, good, she's back, yay. And, don't tell your mother. And they just continue on. There's no rush. So who knows? But maybe that explains a lot about why I am the way that I am. I have no clue. So Biggie, I know that it's 5:50. It's actually 5:55 where I am, and I can't really think of anything else of interest if people don't have questions or comments worthy of sharing. So if you're ready, I'm ready to wrap this puppy up, and Lisa and I will be back to see you all next week. Same time, same great network, and I'll see you then.
The pursuit of a free, fair, just, sustainable world should be the focus of every person on our planet. The reason it is not is because people are kept distracted by the illusions and deceit propagated by the corporately controlled mainstream media. In recent years, the rise in truly informed, savvy researchers and journalists who have all taken to the air in various capacities has given rise to a new genre of media. We have seen the explosion of truly free and independent media, and thus the need to create an ethical live broadcast network that facilitated these brave and tireless souls became apparent. With a great amount of research and meticulous planning, Conscious Consumer Network was created. CCN is a first-of-its-kind broadcast network that is specifically dedicated to free and independent media with absolutely no government control, corporate sponsorship, or advertising. The live broadcast network runs full-time with an average of 25 shows and live broadcasts a week. The high-definition live stream is free to view and is accessible from any computer terminal with online access, including laptops, tablets, smartphones, and smart TVs. All shows are archived onto YouTube and are freely available to view in order to educate and inform as many as we can without imposing monetary limitations. CCN was successfully launched on the 1st of January 2015 and has gone from strength to strength as we have improved and increased the capacities and functionalities of the network, as well as an ever-rotating and improving lineup of content which is broadcast daily. CCN is blessed to be the home of some of the hardest-hitting, most cutting-edge, truly educational and informative materials. Catch interviews, reviews, and talk shows from the many different and beautiful perspectives from CCN's family of interviewers and broadcasters. Since the 1st of January 2015, we have produced over 800 shows. We have over 2 million YouTube minutes watched every month, and we have an average of 1 million hits a day on CCN's website. CCN is viewed in over 147 different countries and hosts broadcasters from 5 different continents. The time has now come to generate funding to keep CCN on the air for the duration of 2016. The total sum needed to continue broadcasting for 2016 is $60,000. This budget includes the replacement of computer equipment, the acquisition of secure servers, which are most needed as we keep getting hacked, plus the renewal of the broadcast license fee for 2016. This is a fraction of the annual budget used by mainstream media networks producing a similar quantity of content. This is what makes CCN so successful, unique, and accessible, is the ability to run a project of this size and reach on such minimal resources. CCN does not claim ownership over any of the material we produce and broadcast, as we firmly believe that information is the common heritage of all beings, and thus CCN belongs to you, the public, and it is up to you all to keep CCN going. CCN would like to thank those who have contributed to the network in the past with resources, content, information, time, and energy. We thank you for supporting free and independent media.